Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you 3 different types of rigging lures for perch fishing, starting with a very basic, probably the most well-known way of fishing perch here in Scandinavia, and it's a completely normal shad. It's a shad slim and a regular ball jig head. I'll show you how I rig it with a couple of tips and tricks. This is the most common way of rigging a shad, and it's not much to it, but there's a couple of tips that makes it last longer, and also to get you to help you get the hook and the lure sitting much more straight and snug on the ball jig head. So to rig this lure, I always place the hook on the side of it, because this way I know exactly where the hook will come out of the back. I just put my thumb there to mark it. Then I take the hook point, make a small nick in the lure, so I make a small damage up on the back there. And this way, when I start threading it, and also here when you thread it, I place it in the lure from the side so I get it completely in the middle, but then I flip it around and I hold the hook along the lure in the middle, and I start working it into the lure. And here it's very important that you don't start, pressing the lure too much. Just hold it gentle and just keep going, and you look a little bit on the side here, just slowly work it up. No pinching, just hold it gentle and just keep working it. And then you can see where you have that nick in the lure that you made from the start. And then you basically go all the way to that nick, and then you come up like this. And now before I thread it all the way on, just take my super glue, which I think is a standard equipment for any fisherman. Super important. You just go with a little bit of super glue on the jig head, on the shank there of the hook. So now when you press it, the last part is just basically going to fixate directly like that. And now when you thread it on all the way, the hook is going to come up perfectly in the back here, and you're going to have a lure that lasts a much longer time, because if you don't put the super glue, it's going to be starting to slide, and after you catch a bunch of fish, it will start wearing and tearing much faster. So that little drop of super glue is a detail that will make it last much longer time. So the next style of rigging, this is a presentation for heavy cover when you're fishing a lot of weed. And I'm gonna rig the ring tease curl tail, which is one of my favorite lures for this style of fishing. Slow fishing, winter time, lot of grass, stuff like that. I'm gonna rig it on the swimming jig head. This is a offset EWG hook. So mainly what you do here, I'm also gonna show you a little tip with the leader also. So here you can just measure out how far you need to go with the hook through the lure. So this is a little bit beyond the eye basically. And to rig one of these, just take it upside down, belly against the back of the hook. Just go straight in the middle of the head. Go, in this case, a little bit beyond the eye, and go straight out underneath, like so. You just thread it on all the way up over the bend, and as you go over the bend you twist it, and now it kind of locks into place, as you can see here. And here's also a really good time to put a little drop of super glue before you get it all the way up there. Now you just basically see where the lure will sit perfectly on the hook, and the ring teeth is very easy because you have all of the rings here actually. So you can just basically find the area, just fold one of the rings away and just go through the middle of the belly, up through the back, straight through the lure, and come out like that. And as you can see, it sits perfectly on the swimming jig head. So this is a way of fishing it through heavy cover, because the hook is very snug, and if it starts catching a little bit of grass, you can actually just text expose it and just put the hook into the rings like that, because now it will slide much easier through the grass, and still it's very flexible, so the hookup percentage is fantastic with this lure. And now I'm going to show you how I attach my leader to make it completely weedless. Just in this case, I'm using the soft fluorocarbon. This is the ST5. We also have the ST3, which is much stiffer. But here, since I'm connecting the line directly to the hook, I want it as soft as possible, so it lets the lure move more freely. In this case, I'm using 0.34, and the knot I prefer here, and I'm going to show you why, is the clinch knot. And if you want to check out more in detail, just search on it on YouTube. You'll find a ton of different ways or videos showing you exactly how to do it in detail. So I'll go 4 laps. So this is just a clinch knot. Always wet the knot. And the reason why I use the clinch knot is that you get the tag end kind of pointing more downwards than, for example, a grinner knot. The tag end would come straight forward, and this way it will catch a lot more weed. And to get it even more weedless, take the tag end and you just thread it straight through the eye of the lure, like this. And then you trim it. This way. You leave a little bit of tag end, it doesn't matter, because now, as you can see, there's nothing for the weed to get caught in here. The weed will just slide along the line, over the jig head, over the lure, and just into oblivion. So this is the way I like rigging it. You can of course trim it down a little bit more, but if you trim it too much, there is a chance of it just coming out again. So leave a little bit of tag end, use the swimming jig head, ring tease curl tail. This is a setup for heavy cover, slow presentations. Just phenomenal. Okay, last tip. This is a way of rigging. This is the Carolina rig, but I'm going to show you how to get the most out of your lure when you have rigged it. So once again, I'm going to use one of my favorites also for Carolina fishing. It's the ring tease curl tail. So this is our EWG hook, which stands for extra wide gape. Here you go about rigging it the same way as a swimming jig head or any offset style jig hook. And there it's rigged on the EWG hook. And as I said before, if you want it super weedless, you just expose it. There we go. And if you have a lot of perch nibbling on your lure, just biting it, and you're missing a lot of strikes, it's gonna start gliding on the hook here. And a way to prevent that is something called pegging. So that's perfect, because for the leader I use our ST5 fluorocarbon, which is very soft. And then you can take the ST3 fluorocarbon, which is much stiffer. So the trick here is to use a thicker fluorocarbon. This is 0.62. Basically, take your cutters, cut it like in a steep angle, so that way it gets kind of sharp, almost like a needle. Take your pliers, pinch it, and here's the magic. Just go straight through the lure and the eye of the hook. If you have trouble finding the eye of the hook, if you have a solid color, you can just pinch on the sides and wiggle it around, and you're going to feel where the eye is inside of the lure. Much more easy to find it and just go straight through. But as you can see here, go straight through the lure, straight through the eye, and then you just basically cut on both sides of the lure, just like so. This prevents the lure from sliding. So we have fixated the head of the lure completely into the hook, and this gives a much greater connection point, and it prevents the lure from sliding. So now the lure is going to last a much longer time if you have all those small perch dragging in the lure, or just if you're having a fantastic day and catching a bunch of lunkers. This is going to prevent the lure from sliding and ultimately from wearing and tearing. So this is just a tip to get much more out of your lure, and it's saved a lot of time for me when fishing, because I mean, more time fishing, less time rigging, right? So basically, this is a small tip, but something that works really, really good in a lot of situations. So these are 3 tips how to rig soft lures, and hope you found something that you liked and maybe can add to your arsenal when you're out fishing. So thank you for watching. See you on the lake.